October has been named Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month.
And I don't think a lot of people know that 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. But unless it's happened to you or someone you love, you don't really know about it because many people suffer in silence.
Katie is here again. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
I love when you're on the show. Recently wrote about the loss of her second child in this Philly Voice story. She's joined by Denise Paul, a prenatal loss grief specialist who runs a monthly support meeting and has written a book on this topic. Boy, great to have you both here.
Thank you.
Just real quickly here, my daughter Jill, she gave me permission to say that she had a miscarriage about a year ago.
I'm so sorry.
But yeah. I didn't know what to say, so I'm glad that you're here. Just a quick definition. A miscarriage is as opposed to a stillbirth. How many weeks are we talking about?
Miscarriage is before 20 weeks. Once you are 20 weeks pregnant, it's considered to be a stillbirth.
Okay.
It's really as simple as that.
So you go for an ultrasound with your hubby.
Yes.
And your 2-year-old.
Yeah. He just turned 2. He was 18 months at the time. Yeah.
Is that kind of the going thing to do in this day and age, that the husband, like back in my parents' day, the dad never had anything. Yeah. The husband and maybe a child would sit there with you and watch it happen?
I think so. I mean, my husband's been with me for all of our ultrasounds, and we had been telling Killian, he didn't really understand at the time, only being a year and a half, but we were telling him that he was going to see his little brother or sister for the first time that day. So
you wanted to prepare him?
We were going there for a celebration, really.
So you had no idea what the doctor was going to tell you?
No.
So they're rubbing the machine on your belly, right?
Yeah.
And the doctor says what?
The first thing my husband remembers her saying is that she couldn't find the heartbeat. And the first thing I remember her saying was that there was no baby. Yeah, kind of just like that. And I remember being sort of propped up and looking at the screen and like what? What? She's showing me and I'm looking at it and then it hit me and then I just,
well, Killian's 2. Did he know what was going on?
No, he didn't. He just knew that his mama got really, really upset. And so I just buried my hands in my face in my hands and I just couldn't stop crying. I was shocked. And I just remember feeling my husband's arm around me saying, look at me, like it's gonna, look at me, it's gonna be okay. And then when I looked up, I saw my husband's face, who's just the best guy in the entire world. And my son was so distraught. He was so concerned. He didn't know what was going on, but he saw that Mom was really, really upset. And it was like, I gotta pull it together. This is like the worst moment of my life, but I'm not gonna scare my child.
I need to be educated because I thought women knew, like when they're at home or at the office and something happens to their body.
It can happen that way. It can happen that way.
But not always.
No, not always. I was with a mom recently that had a 34-week baby, and the baby had died a few days before, and she went for her weekly checkup and found no heartbeat.
So she only had a couple more weeks to go.
Yes. Wow. She only had 4 more weeks to go, and her baby had died.
What do you say to them then when they come to you? And when a mother comes and says, I just lost my baby, like, it's hard to believe there's anything that you can say to make them feel any better.
I begin by telling them that they're not going crazy because they feel all these horrible feelings because the grief affects them cognitively, emotionally, physically, spiritually,
like
socially.
It was their fault?
Yes. Yes,
and it's
absolutely.
Not.
But there shouldn't be, because as Denise can tell you, most miscarriages cannot be prevented.
Yes.
And that was one thing that my obstetrician really reinforced with my husband and I, and it did give me some comfort. I didn't feel ashamed or embarrassed afterwards because my doctor told me it was nothing I did wrong. It was nothing that could have been prevented. 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. It's just something that happens. But so few women talk about it. So few families talk about it. It's this taboo subject.
You know what? After my daughter Jill told me, I need 2 things from you. I didn't know what to say.
Right.
And we haven't talked about it since.
Right. And that's the problem, especially with miscarriage. Miscarriages get so to speak, swept under the rug by society, which doesn't give women permission to mourn their loss, because so many people say, oh, I had a miscarriage, and act like it's no big deal. So the mom is left mourning alone, and it's really very difficult.
So you recommend, because when I was, reading about your story, I think for a lot of people, I wouldn't want to bring it up because I wouldn't want to bring up those feelings again. I'd be concerned it was a touchy subject. But we should try to bring it up?
The opposite is true. It is very important to remember your baby, talk about your baby, talk about your feelings, because most people think that you may feel sad, and of course you feel sad.
Katie, this happened to you at 11 weeks.
Yes.
Do you mourn that little 11-week-old fetus?
I mourn the loss of a pregnancy. My specific miscarriage, there actually wasn't a fetus. It was called a blighted ovum. So I thought that I was carrying a baby, and my body was acting as if I was carrying a baby. But I actually wasn't, which added another layer. There are several different kinds of miscarriages, so I certainly went through a grieving process. It was certainly still a loss for my husband and I, but it was, it's a very difficult thing to process in a bunch of different ways.
I could do another hour on this.
I know, because I have a question.
Okay, so real quickly here. If you tell somebody, oh, I had a miscarriage, what don't you want to hear immediately out of my mouth if you tell me that?
I haven't heard anything negative. In fact, I've only heard love and support, and I found...
Well, how about that line? You're going to try again?
People say that before they know that I had a miscarriage.
Right, or why are you waiting so long? You mentioned that people say that to you. Like, what's going on?
And for a long time, because I hadn't told a lot of people that I was pregnant, you know, in the first trimester, you usually don't shout it from the rooftops, put it on Facebook. Like I said, was kind of harboring it silently. But as I started sharing more, talking to myself, talking to my husband, and talking to other women, I have found that anecdotally, as I've shared with other women, I've found that most of the women that I know have experienced a miscarriage. And in my sharing my story with them, they have shared with me. I have seen that grow exponentially since I published the column earlier this week and shared my story. And that, that support, that connection, that conversation, I think is vital, not only to elevating this very important topic, but also in my personal healing. So I'm tremendously grateful for it.
Thank you for writing it.
And thank
you for having us here. Thank you.
Denise, thank you for coming in too.
You're welcome. And if anyone would like more support, there is an organization called, you can go to a website, my website, denisepaul.com.
Okay, and we'll put that on our website.
And unitegriefsupport.com.
Okay. That'll be on our website, fox29.com.
Thank you
both.
so much.
We got to take a break.